Okie dokie. 3 books. First book, Bible. Random page. Here we go. Joshua. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day Moses swore to me, the land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. Now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said this to Moses. While Israel moved about in the wilderness, so here am I today, 85 years old. I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. You yourself heard then that the Anakites were there, and their cities were large and fortified. But the Lord helping me, I will drive them out just as he said. Then Joshua blessed Caleb son of Jephunneh, and gave him Hebron as his inheritance. So Hebron has belonged to Caleb son of Jephunneh and Kenizzite ever since, because he followed the Lord, the God of Israel, wholeheartedly. Hebron used to be called Kiriath Arba, after Arba, who was the greatest man among the Anakites. Then the land had rest from war. Allotment for Judah. The allotment for the tribe of Judah, according to its clans, extended down to the territory of Edom, to the desert of Zin in the extreme south. Their southern boundary started from the bay at the southern end of the Dead Sea, crossed south of Scorpion Pass, continued on to Zin, and went over to the south of Kadesh Barnea. Then it ran past Hezron up to Adar, and curved around Karka. It then passed along to Asmon and joined the Wadi of Egypt, ending at the Mediterranean Sea. This is their southern boundary. The eastern boundary is the Dead Sea, as far as the mouth of Jordan. The northern boundary started from the bay of the sea at the mouth of the Jordan, went up to Beth Hogla, and continued north of Beth Araba, to the stone of Bohan, son of Reuben. The boundary went up to Debir from the valley of Achor, and turned north to Gilgal, which faces the pass of Adummium, south of the gorge. It continued along to the waters of En-Shemesh, and came out at En-Rogel. Then it ran up the valley of Ben Hinnom, along the southern slope of the Jebusite city, that is Jerusalem. From there it climbed to the top of the hill west of Hinnom Valley, at the northern end of the valley of Rephaim. From the hilltop the boundary headed toward the spring of the waters of Nepotoa, came out at the towns of Mount Ephron, and went down toward Bala, that is Kiriath Jearim. Alright, that's one page. One page from the Cambridge Encyclopedia. Random page. We're only doing half because these pages are so big. Okay, Eddie Murphy, popular name of Edward Regan Murphy, 1961 to present, a comedian performer, born in New York, USA. A popular prankster and mimic at school, he hosted a talent show at the Roosevelt Youth Center in 1976 and subsequently decided to pursue a career in show business. He first came to national prominence on the television show Saturday Night Live in 1980. A charismatic, self-confident humorist, his debut in the film 48 Hours was followed by an unbroken string of box office hits including Trading Places and Beverly Hills Cop. Later films included The Nutty Professor, Dr. Dolittle, Bowfinger, and Pluto Nash. His best-selling albums include Eddie Murphy, Comedian, and How Could It Be? He made his directorial debut with Harlem Nights in 1989. Lionel Murphy, lawyer and politician, born in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. He studied chemistry at the University of Sydney, but turned to law. Unusually, he was admitted to the New South Wales Bar in 1947 before graduating as a lawyer from the University of Sydney in 1949. He was elected as Labour Senator for New South Wales in 1962 federal parliament, became opposition leader in 1967, and was appointed Attorney General in 1972. He oversaw several items of landmark legislation, including the Family Law Act, the Law Reform Commission, the Trade Practices Act, and the Human Rights Commission. In 1975, he was appointed to the High Court of Australia, where he made many progressive decisions. Accused in 1984 of having attempted to pervert the course of justice, he was exonerated in 1986, but died soon after. A controversial figure who challenged political and legal boundaries, the impact of his reforms on Australian society is widely acknowledged. Okay, we got a lot of people coming up. Thomas Bernard Murphy, playwright, born in Tuam, Galway, West Ireland. His first play, A Whistle in the Dark, was produced in England in 1961, and from then until 1970 he lived and wrote in London. His major works date from his return to Ireland and include The Sanctuary Lamp, The Blue Machoosla, The Giggly Concert, and Béal Garangri. William Murphy, a hematologist born in Stoughton, Wisconsin, USA. He was a staff member of several New England hospitals before starting private practice in Brookline, MA. Concurrently working at Peter Bent Brigham Hospital, Boston, and Harvard Medical School. Inspired by the work of Whipple, and in conjunction with Mignot, he shared the 1934 Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine for devising dietary liver and liver extract therapy for patients with pernicious anemia. Gilbert Murray, classical scholar and writer, born in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. He studied at Oxford and was appointed professor of Greek at Glasgow and at Oxford. His work as a classical historian and translator of Greek playwrights brought him world acclaim. His celebrated verse translations of Greek plays, including The Trojan Woman, Medea, and Electra, were performed at London's Court Theatre from 1902. His many works on classics include History of Ancient Greek Literature, 1897, and 5 Stages of Greek Religion, 1913. As a lifelong liberal, he stood for Parliament unsuccessfully 6 times. President of the League of Nations Union, he was the first president of the UN Association General Council. Sir James Murray, a philologist and lexicographer, born in Denholm, Scottish Borders, Southeast Scotland, United Kingdom. A grammar school teacher from 1855 to 1885. His Dialects of the Southern Counties of Scotland, 1873, established his reputation. The great work of his life, the editing of the Philological Society's New English Dictionary, later called the Oxford English Dictionary, was begun at Mill Hill in 1879 and completed in 1928 at Oxford. He edited about half the work, but he created and completed in 1928 at Oxford. He edited about half the work, but he created the organization and inspiration for its completion. He was knighted in 1908. Len Murray, popular name of Baron Lionel Murray of Telford, trade union leader, born in Hadley, Shropshire, England. He studied at London and Oxford and joined the staff of the Trades Union Congress in 1947. Progressed from the Economic Department to become Assistant General Secretary 1969 to 1973. The General Secretary from 73 to 84. He played a major role in the social contract partnership between the TUC and the Labour governments of Harold Wilson and James Callaghan, but from 1979 an unhappy relationship with the Conservative administration of Margaret Thatcher, he was made a life peer in 1985. Murray cod, large freshwater fish, found in rivers and lakes of Australia, length up to 6 to 10 feet, body robust with large head and powerful jaws, dark green molted with blue, good sport fish. Murray River, longest river in Australia, rises in the Australian Alps near Mount Coxsackie, length about 2,570 kilometers, enters the Southern Ocean at Encounter Bay, southeast of Adelaide, and forms the border between New South Wales and Victoria for 1,930 kilometers. Receives the Darling R 640 kilometers from its mouth. The Murray-Darling is 3,750 kilometers long. The river system extends into 4 states, covering a seventh of the continent, used extensively for irrigation and hydroelectric power. Navigation now generally confined to tourist steamers. Major tributaries: the Darling. Ed Murrow, journalist and broadcaster born in Greensboro, North Carolina, USA. He first visited Europe as an assistant director of the Institute of International Education, 1932 to 1935. Joining CBS in 1935, he returned to Europe in 1937 and became a compassionate conveyor of the wartime spirit in Britain. In post-war America, he became a producer and presenter of such hard-hitting current affairs programs As I See It Now, 1951, and Person to Person in 1953. Committed to the pursuit of truth and excellence, his questioning of Senator McCarthy in 1954 contributed to the latter's fall from grace. He received 5 Emmy Awards, then retired from television journalism to head to the United States Information Agency. Boom. 1 page of the encyclopedia. Now we're gonna do a page from Relationships for Dummies. Okay, this is part 3, Staying in Love, Psychological and Emotional Intimacy. When you use these types of sentences and questions with their respectful tentative wording, your partner feels understood and valued, realizes you're showing respect and making a good faith effort, tends to feel positive about the discussion and friendly toward you, even when the two of you disagree about the issue, is encouraged to continue sharing his story with you, the conversation moves forward, and you avoid power struggles, unproductive shouting matches where both people speak faster and faster, raising their voices and choosing more insulting, aggressive words without adding any helpful information. For example, "You did that." "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did." "No, I didn't." "Yes, I'm not blind, and you most certainly did." "No, you jerk. I told you already. I'll tell you again. I absolutely did not. You always think you're right." "Oh yeah? Well, you're never wrong, huh, Miss Smarty Pants?" In a power struggle, the focus quickly becomes who's right and who's wrong, and who can get their partner to back down and admit defeat. Basically, who can win the argument. But when someone wins an argument at their partner's expense, both partners actually lose. When women share information with you, they're often just looking to vent or de-stress. They want emotional support, not advice. So don't give advice or tell them what you do. If they want advice, they'll ask for it. Instead, just listen with empathy and use reflective listening. For example, your partner might say, "Boy, did I have a rotten day today. The boss scheduled a meeting at the last minute and I was hard pressed to get all of the papers ready on time. I had to work through lunch. And then that difficult client came in and was all over me, and you, being totally enlightened by what you've just read, would listen carefully, wait until she's finished talking, then say something like, 'Sounds like you had a rough day today, huh?' To which your partner might respond, 'Yeah, sure did.' And after that, the office manager, you'll know if you did the technique correctly, because if you did, your partner will continue with the story and seem relieved to unload this stuff onto someone who really understands." Remember, facilitative agreement. In this technique, you agree with whatever your partner has said that you can agree with before presenting your point of view. You don't have to agree with your partner's complete opinion on anything. Rather, you voice your agreement with any part you can agree with. For example, let's say you and your live-in boyfriend greatly disagree on how to spend or save money. Okay, this is my longest one yet. 16 and a half minutes. Thank you for tuning in. I should do another one soon. Peace.